good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to High Top Sports Oregon. Today we have some very, very good stuff coming to you. First of all, we might have a commit Friday, so we're gonna go ahead and preface that, see what happened, see if he got the Fong bomb. We're gonna go ahead and talk about him. We're gonna talk about portal news in and out. Um, you know, obviously Oregon was over the limit. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about recruiting. It is recruiting season, and recruiting season's 24/7. It seems like now. But let's go ahead bring in our insider, Derek the Duck. How you doing, big dog?
Good man. I'm doing well. It's been a pretty good week for us. Pretty good week to be a Duck fan, and it sounds like this week could just keep the train rolling. So there's a lot to be excited about it for if you're a Duck fan right now.
I know. Obviously, you and Shelton shot a couple videos just off of commits and everything that's happening, and it seems like it just keeps rolling in. I'm actually on the High Top Sports Recruiting channel. I've just started diving into 2025. You guys are on the list, but I've done Notre Dame so far, and then I just did USC. Seems like USC might get their stuff together on defense. I don't know.
We can agree to disagree on that. In my eyes, USC and defense, like I don't even know if they belong in the same sentence
I
together.
know.
So until we see that product on the field, I've heard this before. When Barry Alexander was coming in, I heard that the Lincoln Riley defense, it's back, we're gonna be all right. And then all of a sudden, the scapegoat Alex Grinch came along, dipped out, and it was crazy how the defense didn't get any more productive. So we'll see if they can get it together. I got my opinions. They're non-biased, of course, but
I
um,
will say the uptick in, if you've looked at their recruiting class, I will say this before we get into the Oregon stuff. Very defensive heavy. They got two high end safeties. They got a cornerback. They got like the number one or number two edge rusher in the nation. They got like seven defensive linemen. So something has obviously clicked into Lincoln Riley's brain. I don't know if he got hit in the head. I don't know if he got in a car wreck. I don't know what happened. Something in the water. I don't know if they cloned him and it's not really him. I don't know, but it's an
well,
obvious uptick in defense.
well, it's about damn time. There's nothing like getting your mind right, like heading into the Big Ten, where if you're not succeeding at that level in the pack, good luck in the Big Ten. And say what you will about Lincoln Riley, but he understands that. He understands what he's getting himself into. So he knew where, if you're going to start building and trying to do it long term, and sustain that level of competition, you got to start in the trenches. And I think that's kind of what he's figuring out. We'll see if that clicks, though. And like I said, he can have all the talent in the world, but until the USC defense can put it together,
Yeah, for sure.
see.
To caveat off that, I mean Oregon has had to change their defense around a little bit. With some of the players that they're getting right. It's just a different style of play, and we've seen that in the recruiting and who they're going after. The big safety that they got in 2024, we talked about as a staple of kind of a Big Ten in the box safety hitter, big hitter, flying around everywhere and gonna stop the run. Not a guy that Oregon really would necessarily go after in the past. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to that new style of competition. Like Sheldon and I were talking about, Nick Saban kind of has a prototype for what he looks for in a safety, and if a guy like Peyton Woodyard becomes available, even if you're pushing that scholarship limit, just heading into that play and where that physicality really, like, it's one of those true factors that is going to determine a game at the end of things. So like bringing in someone like that, it's really important. Um, but we'll see. Oregon, they've bolstered up on their defense, the defensive line in particular. The Derek Harmon commitment, that was a big one for the Ducks. Because it kind of took some of that pressure off of our young defensive linemen. We needed someone to step up, and now we have that's a solidified starting lineup, and a very very large starting lineup at that on the defensive line. So I think they're built successfully heading into the Big Ten, but we'll see what happens come fall time here.
Yeah, I got something very interesting. It just popped in my brain for transfer portal. We'll hold off for that until we get into the transfer portal. Let's go ahead and talk about this recruiting really heating up for the Ducks and possibly another one Friday. Did you get a Fong bomb?
I don't know if he's falling. I know he we got the RPM going for us, and it's looking good. And the people inside that Oregon room, they're confident. In terms of the Fong bot, I'm not even sure, to be honest. Last I saw, there was no official prediction put in. So until that Fong bomb hits, nothing's for certain.
That's that. Yeah, that's like you know, that Fong bomb is like stamping the U.S. mail. It's getting there. You know what I mean? It's the one. So we'll be interested that he could. Now he's been. I've noticed he's been a little like right before the commitment. He throws that Fong bomb out. They wait about a couple hours, and then there's a reason he shoots about 1,000. You know what I mean? He's
Oh
he's been
yeah,
he's been entering them really late lately.
it's strategic. It's not like, the recruit knows and then all of a sudden, he puts his phone out there. No, 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 no. He's got to wait on that, and kind of build the suspense a little bit, get those clicks up a little more. He knows what he do. It's intentional.
Yeah, for sure. On three, just absolutely elite at that, at doing stuff like that. Let's go ahead and get into the young man. So what's it looking like? Who is next on the Ducks' radar to land Friday?
Yeah, I mean, the most likely candidate for that comes on with the Friday commitment, Dier Hill, running back out of Illinois. I think he's sitting at number 8 nationally, at his position number 111 overall, according to the composite rankings. So, very like prototypical Oregon running back that we've seen over the last 10-ish years. Not an overly big guy. Obviously, he's got some wheels, as does everybody who steps into that Oregon room. Has some hands too. He's really versatile, which is something that we've talked about over and over again at a multitude of positions. That this is kind of something they look for when they're bringing somebody in, and he really fits the mold of that. So yeah, we're gonna see on Friday. He announces his commitment officially. It seems to be that people are pretty confident in that Oregon as his leader. But as we know, this is the recruiting world, so anything can change until the pen hits the paper come signing day.
Who's number two on the list that you're really looking out and worried about? If it's not Oregon, who would you say?
It's got to be, I would think, one of the Big Ten teams, just because a lot of time proximity does play a factor for some of these recruits. We've seen it time and time again where they turn down some call it bigger offers to stay closer to home and be able to, benefit in that route. So I would say probably one of those. I know, Illinois is in it at that, there's a drastic difference between, going to be a running back at Oregon and going to be a running back at Illinois most of the
Yeah,
time. They're always asterisks, but, I would say probably that, but once again, this is kind of one of those things where it seems to be, kept in the dark for most of his recruitment. So we'll see what happens come Friday.
gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I think the only two teams I would really worry about running back wise would be, I mean, probably Wisconsin in the mix, or obviously Ohio State. They're kind of the staple of the Midwest. So yeah, so that's super exciting. We'll keep you posted on that. Um, and then let's go ahead and talk a little portal talk. Um, you know, Obviously over the limit. You had to lose some guys. You wanted to add some guys. What's going on with that final portal before we kick the football off in the fall?
Yeah, I definitely think Oregon is done adding as of now. Bringing in Peyton Woodyard, that was kind of one that kind of caught many of us off guard, where it felt like it kind of came out of left field. And people at that point were already worried about scholarship numbers and having to lose guys to the portal and losing their scholarships and whatnot. Um, but that's kind of where we are there.
Gotcha. Anybody left that you think is gonna leave?
I- we're sitting at that like 86, 87 range. I think we're at
So somebody's
86
got to go,
scholarship.
right?
Right. And, kind of the other thought I've seen is kind of playing with some scholarships and some walk ons and kind of altering some things in that regard to meet that scholarship threshold. But, I don't really know how that's going to play out. I haven't heard anything. I've seen a lot of speculation, but at that, it's just kind of speculation as to kind of how they're going to end up either addressing having someone leave the program, or, if they know something we don't, or if it's one of those things where, maybe someone lost a scholarship but elected to stay as a walk on.
If you were to guess, what position group would you guess that it would leave? Wide receivers, safety. That room, obviously, getting one in, you might have to push one out. I'm trying to think. Defensive line, you're pretty thick at. Offensive
Yeah.
line, you got a lot of depth there. So where are you thinking that if push comes to shove, somebody's getting unfortunately walked in the office and saying, "Hey, you're gonna have to go."
Right, right. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that would come in that defensive back room, primarily like the nickel safety position, just because, like you said, you're bringing in another member to that who has 4 years of eligibility left. Whether he stays here the entire time or exhausts it or what, that's not a certainty. But at the same time, it's just creating another log jam for somebody else who's trying to work their way up in the program depth chart to, see the field on Saturdays for some meaningful snaps. So I would guess probably somewhere out of that safety room, maybe someone like a Kingston Lopa, who's, he's a highly touted recruit, but at the same time, you know, when you're when you have that amount of skill and you have that amount of desire from other programs to have you, it's got to be a little bit enticing to at least entertain it, to see if you could go, maybe move up that depth chart, maybe be a second string guy. But I just don't see that being the case this year. And especially when you're adding on, guys like a Peyton Woodyard, where we know where he's going to be in the depth chart.
Gotcha. So no last minute Cormani McLean or anything crazy like that, right?
No, no, I saw that Oregon was in contact, and I'm like, please don't read into it. You see some of the fans who are like, oh my god, man, they're gonna pull something out of their head. No,
I
they're
had
not.
to.
It's
I had
done.
to.
Yeah, it's done. No, no Cormani for us. Maybe he can go play at U Scrub up in Seattle, but it's
Isn't that wild? The number one cornerback in the nation, and he burnt so many bridges that now he's gonna probably play for like USF.
which is wild, man. Because when you think about it, a year ago this time, not even a
Everybody
year ago
wanted
this
him.
time,
It was a
right? When we're
bidding
talking,
war.
yeah, and it's just because when you hold that recruitment status coming out of high school, people are like that untapped potential. It's in there somewhere. But man, went up to Colorado, chased the Dion train, and yeah, Cormani, he's fighting for his career right now. Well, to have a career.
Yeah, and listen, you can go anywhere if you have the talent. You can still go in the first round. We saw that with the Toledo kid. Um, Obviously, a big difference, but if you have the talent and you work hard, you can still get to the end goal in the draft. But I will say this: um, I've noticed, with as many, since we're still on portal talk, as many bad things that the portal has brought to us, it's kind of brought us some really really great things. I think like Jared Verse from Albany, goes and goes to FSU and then becomes, what he becomes. And there's a lot more of those stories than the kid like I can't think of his name, the quarterback. He transferred like 12 times.
Oh wow, what's
Tate
his
Marshall.
name? Oh, not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of the one who bounced from like USC to Rice to
Yes,
West
yes, yes.
Virginia to
That kid too.
yeah.
I can't remember that kid's name, but yeah. So you have that, and then you have like some of these guys. Just because you're in the portal does. I mean, you are gambling
Mm-hmm.
because there's kids that get left in the portal and they never get picked back up, and their careers are over. Because
Yeah,
they.
ironically, no, I was just talking to someone the other day, and there's a guy from Wisconsin who didn't play with the Badgers. There's no knock on him or whatsoever. Just kind of ties into the story here, but he entered the transfer portal as for his graduate season. I ended up seeing the little commitment thing. He committed to a D3 school to finish out his undergrads. So he's going from playing Big Ten ball or at least being around that environment, to playing at my alma mater is a D3 school in Wisconsin. So it's just it goes to show you,
Whitewater
man. Because no, it was lacrosse.
lacrosse.
Yeah, not Whitewater, man. I didn't wasn't fortunate enough to go to the powerhouse that is Whitewater.
Yes. Everybody jokes about that, but it's like Minnetonka and Minnesota. A lot of good athletes come out of there. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like
You
University of
got
Wisconsin 1A.
Yeah, you got a DUI or a battery charge, or you decide to be a flunky your first 3 years of general studies, boy, we got a spot for you at Whitewater.
Man, and that's no joke. It's like you guys don't think there are people out there who have just massive amounts of skill but are dumb as a box of rocks? Well, I promise you, those box of rocks play college football, and it happens to be at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. So, go check out the Warhawks.
Yeah. Love it. Love it, love it. And then one last thing with portal talk. So this is the end of the spring portal, and this is the last one. This is the last stop. And you're not seeing any giant, there, yeah, obviously it's getting down to the nitty gritty. It's closed. There are still people that are announcing because they've already had their paperwork in, but I don't see any like big time starters to go and add. How do you guys think, or how do you think that you guys fared out with this spring portal? Is it kind of, obviously you were not really in a buyer's market because you had the cap of guys gonna have to leave. So, but how did you feel your aggressiveness and how it went for your spring portal?
Yeah, like when we were coming up to the spring portal, there was always that chance that Oregon was going to be completely inactive, just because where the roster stands, they're deep all around. There's talent dispersed all over every position. But what I think they did very well was being selective about how they approached the portal. So they knew if someone like a Derek Harmon, entered the transfer portal once again, like he did in the winter portal, and Oregon was a finalist there. Obviously, elected to pull out the portal, return to Michigan State, re-entered. And I think that's kind of where some of that dark horseness came from in his spring commitment. Anyway, but just adding a big body like that who is used to playing in the Big Ten really anchors the middle of that Oregon defensive line, which is the only spot that I even had a slight question mark about. And that now that that's addressed, I think that
It's gone.
defense is
Yeah.
exactly where it's at. And then the Peyton Woodyard situation, now that's definitely one of those things where it's like you get that safety with that build that Nick Saban wanted to, man his defense. And then he comes to you saying, "Hey, I want to be a part of this program. I have 4 years left of eligibility. How do you shut the door on that?" So all you're doing is you're improving competition. You're solidifying a defensive back room for years to come, and really setting the tone for the type of athletes that are on campus. So I think they did a wonderful job. I think being selective was a smart move. That like you don't see them going out and just grabbing in anybody. They're very methodical about how they approach it. So I think Dan absolutely crushed the portal, not only but in the spring, but also the winter portal as well.
Yeah, it really sets the temperament of the program, right? Like if you see a program out there that's just scooping up anybody and everybody, you can tell they're like, okay, they went through spring practice and they got some serious holes.
Yeah.
Like obviously like Florida right now, we picked up a interior offensive lineman that we had recruited. He's a 2024 guy. We recruited the crap out of him from USC. He decided to go to USC and then obviously hops in the portal early. I mean as of early as the spring. And then Elijah Badger is the last guy that we're really after, a wide receiver, and it's like
Hmm.
it's like it kind of tells you the difference on how your program is, where you. I think it's a good measuring stick for where the program is depth wise, because there are teams out there just grabbing anybody and everybody. Miami being one of them because they just everybody left, so they're just grabbing his. It doesn't matter if he's from Whitewater or whatever. If he can, if he
Hmm.
can, if he can qualify to get into Miami, boy, pack him up. He's coming.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's like the recruitment destination's kind of like a club. You know what I mean? The 5-star club got a list to get in. You got to be on that list to get in the club. The
Yeah.
2-star booty club down the street, you can be an average Joe, walk in there and get yourself some stink booty. So that's kind of like that. And Miami just happens to be the stink booty club in this situation. So sorry about it.
Yep.
Not a Canes
I
guy.
I don't feel bad for him. Great episode. Glad we got to crap on Miami and USC a little bit. You did, and I think super excited to see some fall clips, some of that crack. It's gonna be coming soon. You know, practice is just around the bend, and then we'll start
Oh,
getting those.
oh, prof. Let me tell you, they just released the
The hype
the
video, the
The
I
one
was
from the spring game, did
yeah,
you see it?
I
Yeah, I
was watching
reposted it
it.
on Twitter for the people to see it. I was like, "Man, I was getting the goosebumps." I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to hang my banner right back here, right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I'm finding my spot. My trophy case is clear. I'm ready to get this natty.
Oh, it's great. I love it, man. It's it's kind of gonna suck for like a couple weeks. We're gonna go into a little bit of a draw, but we always make it through.
Oh, absolutely, man. And what better to do if you're bored and missing college football? Come check out High Top Sports. You know what I'm saying? We're talking college football all the time, so it's you can come get your fix.
Yeah,
What better to look at than us two beautiful gentlemen?
absolutely. And on high top news, we decided to add another member to the family. We are now covering the Longhorns with Lacey, and so go ahead and check that out. High top sports Longhorns, Texas Longhorns. You'll be able to find it on YouTube. Just adding another one to the branch.
Absolutely, man. High Top's on the up and up. It's I'm excited to see where it continues to grow. So it's an exciting time to be a part of the High Top fam. So definitely appreciate everyone who decides to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Like and subscribe as always. Just hit 500 or over 500 now. Growing like a weed. We gotta hit that magical 1,000 threshold of monetization, and then, guys, watch out because the live call-in shows are gonna be wild. They're gonna be fun. We're gonna have an absolute blast. Can't wait for fall ball. Just like everybody else, I'm clamoring for it. But we will see you later. I am Cody, the professor, and we have Derek the Duck.